No, I can't remember too much. Let me see. I know that we were living in Baxley, Georgia, and we moved to Scriven when I was in the 2nd grade of school. And I know on weekends when we were out of school, every Sunday we had to go to Appling County after we moved to Scriven. I'm getting ahead of myself. We moved to Scriven when I was in the 2nd grade. And in the summer months, or even every Sunday, we had to go to Appling County, where up in the country from Baxley, where we lived, to visit all of our relatives. I remember one time James and I were visiting at my great-grandmother's son, which would be, well, I won't try to figure that out. But they had some little chicks, and they would let us play with them, and they let us bring 2 of them home one time. And I know when we'd go up there, we would always have to be wearing shoes, but we would want to go barefooted when we were up there. And let me see. I can't think of anything else right now. Grew up in Scriven, and
what'd your parents do?
My parents, Daddy was a barber. Yes, and my mommy she was a housewife, and there was a little beauty shop across the street from us, and it was a friend of hers, so she would go over there and watch the progress going on over there, and she got interested, and they told her, says, well, why don't you get an apprentice license and become a beautician? So she did that, and Daddy built her a little shop in the backyard, and she really enjoyed it and worked hard, and she would be so tired in the afternoons when she'd finished with her last patient. And I remember her telling me one time that this very dear friend of ours, she was doing her hair, and she was a lady a little older than Mama was. And her mother, she had a daughter who was a real close friend of mine. But anyway, Sherry, your mom, was visiting with Mama, and she was out in the beauty shop when Mrs. Williams was her name, when she came to get her hair done. Well, as I said, she was very elderly, and she had a lot of wrinkles on her face. And Sherry walked up to her and said, "Why do you have all those strings on your face?" Do you remember that, Sherry?
No, I don't. Not like.
That's what Mama told me that you said. And
That was a big hit with her.
And we used to have fun going swimming down at the Satilla River, and had a sandbar, and we had a lot of fun down there swimming and playing on the sandbar.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, what child are you out of the 4 children?
I am the eldest.
So you were the firstborn?
I was firstborn, and I was born on May 16, 19, and 23. ...
And what was life with just your mom and dad, not any of the siblings around to be?
Now, I would have had to be around two, a little over 2, because James was born on May the 30th, 1925, so I would have only been 2 years old, and I don't remember. But I know James and I used to get in little scraps, and he chased me across the street with a hammer, and was going to hit me with the hammer.
Wow. And so then after James came John.
John and our
how'd you get
grand.
along with him?
Well, as I say, I don't remember what we did, but I know that our great grandmother lived with us. We called her Granny. Her name was Adeline, and I was hoping that no, she was not the one. She loved John. William was not even born then.
No, I thought her last name was Williams. Adeline Williams.
Stewart.
Stewart. Okay.
Adeline Stewart, and we called her Granny. And she lived with us. I guess she lived with Mom and Daddy their whole life, married life. And so then I went off to school after I graduated from high school in 1940.
You forgot the birth of
Okay, well, yeah, let's
Faye.
yeah, let's go to
James and
yeah,
John.
Faye. So Faye was next born.
And then Faye was born, and she was a tiny little thing. They didn't expect her to live. She was born at home. I don't know.
She said she was put in a shoebox.
They fed her with an eyedropper, and she grew up to have the cutest curls, little ringlets, and everybody loved her and petted her, and she was a cute little thing. And I used to swing her. We had a swing on the front porch, and I put her in the swing and sat beside her, and I blew my breath into her face, and I don't know why I did that, but I remember doing that. And I used to get her on my hip, carry her down the street, down to where all the stores were in Scriven, downtown Scriven.
And what else did Papa do? Didn't he have another job after he had a barber shop?
Daddy, he bought this farm. He bought this farm about.
City Hall?
Well, let her continue.
He bought this farm. Well, before that, when we were still in Scriven, he was elected mayor for a period of time. I don't remember how long. And then he bought this farm 4 miles out from Scriven and built a home out there, and they moved. Before then, though, I was away at school. When I went to Georgia Teachers College, it was now Georgia Southern, and in 1940. So I lived in Savannah for several years, 30 years to be in fact. But anyway, after I moved to Savannah, they moved to the farm, which I said is 4 miles out. And Daddy only lived to enjoy the home that he had built for 2 years. He died in 1969. He leased the farm, but he was very close to everything that was going on out there, and had some little. Oh, I remember him walking down the driveway. There was a pond next to the house for a short distance, and he would take his fishing pole and walk down the driveway at the house and go down to the pond, and all these little kitty cats were following behind him. And I don't know where they came from. I don't remember that part of it, but I can see him now with that hat on and that fishing pole and those little kitty cats following behind him. He'd go down to the pond and he would fish, catch a little fish, and he'd throw it over like that, and those little cats would run for it. And
I have another question, and it's backtracking a little bit. Back when you were a kid, back in those days, people had maids and workers to help them run the house. So do you guys have any maids or workers?
yes, we used to have a black person. She reminded me of Aunt Jemima. And she was really big and fat, and she would work so hard and get so tired. And we had this back screened-in porch, and she would go out there after she had finished cooking and the dishes and everything and lie down on the floor with no pillow or anything and rest.
Wow. And were you,
And we had a daddy, some piano salesman visited us one day and wanted to sell Daddy a piano. And he wasn't interested, but she, Leslie was her name, but she said, Mr. Lee.
His name was Lee.
Yeah, my dad's name was Lee. And anyway, she talked him into buying that piano. So we had a piano.
And did
Is
you,
that the same one?
Yeah, that's the same one that you and your
That is weird. Wow.
family have.
I didn't know that.
so, did you have a passion for playing piano once you got it? Did you do anything with it once you had it?
No, other than just play it by ear. I used to go out. There were 3 churches, and all in a line behind our house, and I used to go out to the Primitive Baptist Church and play the piano, twiddle with it. I never did. I took lessons for a short while, and then we moved away down to Florida, to Perry, Florida, to be exact.
You did, or everybody?
Yeah, all of us.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew.
We
Before
moved
the
to,
farm?
huh?
Before the farm or after the farm?
Before the farm.
I never knew you moved to Florida.
Yeah, we moved to Florida.
Was
We
Faye born?
no.
No, okay.
James and I can't remember John, but anyway, we were in school
Never knew that.
together, and James got in trouble somewhere way, and I told him to tell. I've forgotten what I said to James to tell the teacher. Anyway, it was the wrong thing to say, and she spanked him, and so it was my fault, and I felt bad about it.
So why
But
did
we
you
had a
move to
terrible
Florida because of
storm.
that?
What?
You moved to Florida because you got in trouble at school?
No, that's when we were living down in Florida, that we in school there.
Why would he just up and move to Florida and he'd been in...
Cause Daddy liked to fish, and so we.
How did Aunt
He
Polly
was
do that?
he had a barber shop. He bought a barber shop there, and then we moved down on the coast, which is Steenhatchee River. And he bought this house at that time it seemed like it was way up on a hill, a huge house, but it was not. When we went back several years later, it was not that big a house and not that tall a hill, but it was across the street was the Steenhatchee River out there. And I remember one Christmas we went out in a boat and cut down a cedar tree for a Christmas tree and brought it back in the boat, came across the river there, and we decorated it with crepe paper, little rolled up things, and I don't know what else. And then one time we were all playing cards in the living room, which, as I said, everything looked bigger as I remember.
All of the mysterious light goes on.
And
It's got a short in it.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
And some of our relatives who also lived down there, they were here. They were there in the living room playing cards. We were all playing cards. I don't know how many people were there. Anyway, this hurricane struck. I guess it was forming for several hours. I don't remember that, but I know it got so bad, and the chimney fell in on top of the house, and at that point we all decided we should go outside. We had a sort of little carport out from the kitchen, and so Daddy and my Uncle Sam, they got rope and tied down the roof of the car shed, port, whatever, and we sat and it was a truck, and we sat in the cab of the truck, and waited for things to calm down, and they say that people were lying down on their stomach out in the open space and holding on to palmetto bushes to keep from being blown away.
You
It
know
was,
what hurricane that was?
it was, I don't remember what hurricane or what year it was, but I
How
was,
old were you and we could trace it back?
I don't know, I must have been about 11 or 12, somewhere along in there.
Okay, so this was when you were in Florida, right?
Yes.
And Faye's not born yet either, and possibly not John. So we got the time right. Now we're gonna just do this, quick little game here, where I'm gonna ask you, who out of the 4 siblings, you'll see. Okay, which one of the 4 siblings was the most shy?
The most shy. I don't think any of us were.
None of you were shy. Okay, who was the most troublemaker?
Troublemaker. Oh, I don't know. As kids,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess James.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that too, since he had a hammer and trying to, hit you, and then got a spanking later on. And the last one is who was the most, who was the closest to you when you were growing up?
I really don't think I was close to any particular one because, see, I was 12 years older than Faye, my sister, and, well, James, we were just 2 years apart, and then John, I think he's about 5. But then I was away. I left and went to school in 40, so I really hadn't been back home after 40 until I moved back home to live with Mama.
When did you leave Florida and move back to? Because I never knew you were in Florida. This is a whole new thing to me. How old were you when you moved back to Scrivener? Did you live in the same house or?
Yes.
You moved back to the same house? How was that possible? Did
I
you not
don't-
sell it?
No, we sold, yeah, after we moved to the farm, but not when we came back
You
from
went to
Florida.
though.
Yes,
You came back. You lived in the exact same house.
yes. I don't
How
think
was
they
that
would.
possible?
Well, I guess I don't know whether he rented it while we were gone, or I don't think he did.
So, about how old were you when you moved back to Scrivener?
Well, let me see.
No, Roxy.
14, 15?
Probably about that age.
Okay. And,
Wait a minute. It would be, I would have been close, younger than that. More like 12.
isn't that when the hurricane hit Florida?
Yeah, you were 11 or 12 when the hurricane hit in Florida.
Well, I don't
That's why
think,
you moved back?
well, Mama never did like it down there, but we didn't stay very long.
Did you guys move because of that hurricane?
I'm not sure whether that was the reason or not. I think basically that and the fact that Mama didn't like it down there.
So now we're going to go into your school life. What was your best subject when you were growing up?
I guess English.
English, okay. And what was your worst subject?
Algebra, I guess.
Algebra. And algebra, okay. So, did the teachers like you? Were you a teacher's pet?
No, I don't think so. Although when I was in the 2nd grade, I believe it was the 2nd grade, after the school year was over, I was invited to go to my teacher's home in Odom. For I don't remember how long I stayed, but anyway,
You left your house in 2nd grade?
No, to visit.
to visit, just
Oh, you went to
To visit.
to maybe, I don't know, just a few days. I don't remember. She invited one of the students in my class, and I remember they had, we were having a meal, and there was a big coconut cake sitting over on the buffet, I guess, and I asked for a piece of cake, and I didn't wait for dessert time. I asked, could I have some? I don't know why that stuck in my mind, but I remember that.
Seventh grade, wow. I can't remember.
So now you're back in Scriven from Florida, and now it's time to decide what college you're going to go to. What did you base going to college? What did you?
I didn't have any major in mind, or and I don't remember what subjects I took, but I only went 1 year.
Okay, and
And
what
then
college is this?
That's now it's known as Georgia Southern now, but at that time it was Georgia Teachers College.
Okay, so you
And-
were trying to be a teacher?
Well, that or in the business world, I can't remember.
So
And then when I moved to Savannah and worked with the Western Union as a teletype operator. And I worked there
Telegraphs?
sending telegrams, yes.
Wow.
On this, you made a tape, you know, with the little,
Telegrams are long.
and yeah, was a long time ago. And I took some courses at Armstrong College in Savannah after I was in Savannah. And see, what else could there be to say?
in college, why did you drop out after the first year?
I really don't know. I got a job, and so I decided to take the job and never went back.
Were your parents? Did your mom approve of that?
Well, I'm sure they would have preferred my going back, but
So why are you so articulate today?
why am I so articulate?
Yes. With only 1 year of college behind you.
Oh, well, you just over the years, why you become educated on.
You seem well educated beyond your 4 years of college to me.
Well, thank you.
Must be
That
the traveling that you did.
well, yeah, I did quite a bit of traveling while I was.
So wait, hold on.
Wait now, let me see. I lived in Savannah for 20 years and worked with I got a job. I left Western Union and got a job at it was during the war, Quartermaster Depot,
War.
World War II. And then from there, I went to work with the Warren Candler Hospital as secretary to the administratrix.
And how long is this after the telegram job?
Well, one followed the other.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to a friend of mine said they had an opening with the railroad engineering department, civil engineering, and so I got that job and worked there for 20 years, and at that time they closed and reorganized the engineering department and just sent us different places. They sent Joanne to Florence, and Eunice stayed in Savannah. These are friends of mine, and sent me to Tampa. And I was real upset at first, but then I learned to accept it, and turned out that I enjoyed it living in Tampa. I lived there for 33 years working with the railroad.
So tell me about a job, because I cannot see you doing railroad engineering. I mean, did you have to You know?
Well, it was actually, it's just sort of a glorified name for secretary, administrative assistant. That's what.
So you didn't have to like build in railroad tracks.
Oh no, no.
Okay, because by the name, I was thinking, macho
Well,
man
civil-
carrying and sweating and this.
Well,
Yeah.
those were under in this same department, the civil engineering, the civil engineers.
Uh-huh.
They anytime we had a what do you call them when the car goes off the track, derailment. When we had a derailment, my boss and some of the other supervisor, they would take off like that, and they build tracks and all. But I was in the administrative part of it, and
So what did the administrative part of it do?
well, I typed and I worked on reports and invoices and took shorthand.
Do you remember your boss's name?
Well, my boss in Tampa was A.C. Parker, and the last one was Tommy Herndon.
Okay.
And let me see what else. Anyway, I enjoyed living in Tampa. I retired at age 60 with 30 years service, and I stayed on. I guess I stayed on in Savannah, in Tampa, for some years because I moved back home with Mama in 1993, January of 1993.
When I was born. But we're going to backtrack a little bit. You have traveled all around the world, basically. When was this? This is
Well,
after your jobs, basically.
No, it was during when I was working.
Okay.
My
and-
first trip was in 1970. I went to took a 2-week, I think it was 2-week tour, and that was the year. Every 10 years they have this passion show at Oberammergau, Germany. And it's an outdoor thing, and they have it every 10 years. So that was the reason for our going that year, 1970. And we traveled through Switzerland and Austria. I traveled with our minister from the First United Methodist Church in Tampa, where I went to church. I was a member there. And so he got this trip up, and I went along. And I had a roommate she was from Miami. She was about around 16 years old, and she
16?
was spoiled.
How old were you? Not 16.
No, my roommate was 16.
I know. And how old were you?
Well, I must have been in late 30s.
That's a big
So why were you paired up with a 16-year-old?
Well, in 1970 is when I went, so I'll have to get a pencil and paper to figure that out. I'm 84,
Well,
70,
What year
What
were you?
I was born 1923,
23?
33, 4, 35, 36, 3, so I was about 45.
5, and you were with a 16-year-old. That's
Yeah.
a very odd pairing.
So after Germany, you went to Italy, right?
Went to Italy, and let me see, where else did we go? I can't remember. Then in
What'd you do in Italy?
what did I do in Italy?
Speak any of the language?
Oh no,
Speak German
no,
or Italian or?
no, couldn't speak that.
Did
We
you,
went
did you look at the Tower of Pisa?
I was just going to say we went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, went to Rome and saw the fountain there, 3 coins in the fountain, and went to Florence, Italy, which is very interesting. A lot of art there, and Milan. The land has a famous opera house there. And we went there. Someplace out from Rome, it's like a huge garden with a lot of stone steps. It's been so long. I should have those diaries that I gave Susan.
Yes, we would appreciate
And
that much more. I would read them,
so
You read one of them.
parts of it.
let me see.
So
Then the next trip was in 1971. I went to Spain, and
That's
that,
to the bullfight.
yeah,
That's from the diary. I remember that.
yes. Went to Spain. We landed in Madrid and took a small German fighter plane, which they call the Fokker.
Oh,
wait,
okay.
what was that?
Fokker.
Okay.
Like the meet the parents.
It's almost like just something else, but
I know, but well, let me tell you the story. What happened?
Really?
Pardon?
He's just laughing at William.
But anyway, this girl that I didn't know anybody on the trip on this trip, and this girl from California, her name was Alice, and she was married, but her husband was not traveling with her. So we were sitting on the bus one day, and she was telling me about, when we got to Madrid and got on this German Fokker plane, she told me the story that she was having lunch one day with her husband and a friend of his, a client or something, and said they started talking about the Fokker planes in Germany, and she had not been listening to the conversation, and when they said that, she
Listened up.
yeah, and we went to the island of Mallorca, which was real pretty. It's where they have the Mallorca pearls, and we stayed down on this cape. I can't remember the name of it now. And I met a guy from London while we were there. Let me see. I was out on the beach there at Mallorca, not at Mallorca, but you have to travel around. It's just sort of like a cape that goes down like that. It's real pretty. But anyway, I was out there, and he walked by and looked at me and said, "Are you English?" And I said, "Yes." I guess I should have said American. I guess he meant if I were English from.
hold on. Can you do the British accent? Can you reenact?
No, I can't.
Come on.
I can't. I don't know how.
British accent.
Was he British or where was
Oh yes, he was British. He was from
He
London,
was British.
and so
he? He said, "Are you English?"
yeah.
Why would he call you English instead of American?
Well, he didn't know. He was asking me if
He was just trying to make conversation
Yeah.
to get in with you.
yeah.
All right.
But anyway, we got together later, and he took me out to dinner, and we went to some place. A friend of his had some sort of like a nightclub, and he was on holiday there, but he was staying across the another place. I can't remember the name of it, but it was just a short distance. You could either take a taxi or a boat. So we went over and had dinner. We had, what's the Spanish dish that all the seafood together?
Paella?
Paella, yeah, paella.
Paella.
And I didn't like it.
I like Spanish food.
They had all these clams and the shells and everything.
Rice all together.
Yeah, paella.
So
And then from there we,
wait, what happened to the British guy?
well, we just said I do.
There you go. There's a British.
But we stayed in touch for up until Mama died. That was in 1971 to 1993 was the last time I heard from him. No, he wasn't married, but
I mean, later, obviously.
Huh?
Did he ever marry?
I don't know.
Oh.
We stayed in touch for all those years, like I said, until the year before Mama died. It was the last time I heard from him, usually just at Christmas time. But one time he was planning to come with his friend when I was still in Tampa, but I don't remember why he didn't come.
Do you know
And
this
then in
man's name?
1973, huh?
Do you know this man? Do you know the British man's name?
Oh yeah, Clive Storch, S-T-O-R-C-H.
We gotta look him up.
Yeah, I wondered what happened if he, were sick and in a nursing home.
What's his name? How do you spell his last name?
S-T-O-R-C-H, Clive, C-L-I-V-E. Whether he's dead or not, but I didn't send him a Christmas card that year, and I didn't hear from him that year. So that was the year that Mama died. So then the following Christmas, I wrote to him again, and the card was never returned. And I didn't hear from him, and haven't since.
But you skipped a very important part of her life.
Yeah, I am. Okay.
But getting back, and that was in 71, then 72, in 1973, I took another trip, and Joanne was with me at that time, and we flew into London, and I met him. He knew we were coming. I'd gotten in touch with him. So he brought a friend and took Joanne and me out and drove us all around London and had dinner somewhere, I don't remember. He drove right down in number 10 Downing Street, right at the front door there. So of course I never saw him again. That was in 73.
So then after that, you moved in with your mom.
Yes, in 1993.
Well, that's 20 years, from 1973 to 1993.
Well, what happened in between that?
Well, I went to Mexico one time, and I took a couple of cruises and all the Caribbean, and where else did I go? Oh, Canada. I took Switzerland when I was in Europe. But I took a trip by, was it train? No, it wasn't train. I don't know. We flew out to Oregon and took a bus from there and went to Vancouver and Victoria, and then across Canada over to the other side, Nova Scotia. And I can't remember all the places we went. The little the house where, what's the books that were written? The little girl was an orphan, and this couple, they adopted her. It's very famous in not Nova Scotia, but Prince Edward Island. And they had
Back up Sunnybrook Farms? I have no idea.
I can't remember the name of it now, but it's very famous, and it's a book. And anyway, we went to the home where they lived. Oh, and I'm sure I took vacations going somewhere, but not back to Europe or any big trip. I don't think. Then, pardon?
House Tampa.
You were a big football fan.
Oh yeah.
Football games living.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were, what's the word you'd use? They
were good.
But I mean, they began their franchise. That's still not the word, but anyway, I had a friend who had season tickets and also had parking. So we would go out to the games and have tailgate parties. And I remember Mom and Jean came down one time, and about 4 or 5 of us took off to the game. And then I moved back home with Mama in January of 1993. Quite a change as far as what?
Pace of life.
Yeah, pace of life.
Definitely.
So you've moved into this. Is this the same house you were in as a kid, or
No,
Yeah,
no.
same.
This is, I said that Daddy bought this farm and built a home out there. They moved there in
But
November of 1966.
didn't you say but he raised pigs? 'Cause I remember he had a pig farm.
Yeah, he had some pigs. Yeah, had some pigs down
Big
at
old mama pigs, with little baby piglets.
down.
Big.
Uh,
Because I picked one up one time, and that mama pig almost ate me alive. And I was little. I thought, oh, look, a little piglet.
well, I had already moved away. I was not there at that time, so
So I knew he had.
I know that. Yeah, I know he had some pigs down at the barn.
And I remember something they used to do. Remember this? She would get a milk carton. They didn't have plastic containers like we had. It was like the chocolate milk in a carton, but it was big. And they would put all their scraps from breakfast, like bread and grits and coffee and whatever they didn't eat,
Or put it in the
eggs.
garden.
Just gross stuff. And they would go, suey, 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 suey. And they'd call, they would run, the pigs would just run down this pasture. And they would throw all that garbage and they would eat. It was disgusting. Whatever the people didn't eat, they would eat all that food. That's what Aunt Mana used to do, that I remember, in those big milk cartons.
I don't remember
all the
that.
scraps of food that nobody wanted, they would feed those pigs.
Well,
Uh,
anyway, when did James move beside you guys?
Gee, I can't remember. I don't know whether I moved there first or he moved there.
You
Of course,
moved there first.
I did. And they built right next door, down where the pigs used to be. Now that Kim likes to call it the pig farm. And but anyway, they built next door, and so let me
When did Aunt Mona die?
Mama died on January the 1st, 2001.
January 1st.
January the 1st, New Year's Day.
Wow.
It was right after midnight.
Yeah, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, something.
Now, did you expect her?
To die then? No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Did you think she could live longer?
Do what?
Did you think that she would live longer?
Well, I just thought she was going to get well.
So did I.
And
But she told me when we were there in Thanksgiving that she was ready to meet the Lord. She was ready to die. She was tired and she wanted to go, and she would be in peace and she wanted to die. She told me that Thanksgiving. She said, let her go, that she would be in a better place, and she really wanted to die. She told me that. But
Well-
she would miss us, but that's what she wanted.
yeah, she said to me a few times that she ready to die. When she'd say it, I said, well, don't you want to be with William and Lindsay and all the other kids, Taylor and Tiffany? And
Didn't she get us chickens one time?
Little baby chick.
I did at Easter time.
A green one and a yellow one.
Green one.
One year, at Easter time, I don't know who was there. I don't think y'all were.
They were definitely there. I have pictures.
I know that, but another time we dressed, when Ula and Jean were there, and we dressed up. I've got little balls of cotton and glued it to the back as our tails, and we had little rabbit ears fixed with crepe, what do you call it? Not construction paper. And anyway, we do like this and had a little ball here. And we'd get out on the front front yard.
Just the adults.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I think Kim and Jim
I
were.
hope there were some children there
But I remember Ula and Jean and I.
dressed up as rabbits. In the
Yeah.
front yard. I have a question for you. That when you're in high school, that you had a boyfriend, and that you got engaged, but that Papa didn't like him, and you hid your ring, and then you broke off your engagement and you never dated him again. Do I have that right or not right?
Tell you the truth, I don't remember. I know.
That you got engaged and then he found
Well, at that
Engaging is a
time,
big thing.
I-
don't remember.
somebody in
I was so
high
young. I don't.
school, 'cause you've told me that story.
I don't. I remember him giving me this ring,
You
but
hid
I
it,
put it in the top drawer to
Yes.
the chest of
and
drawers.
then Papa found it.
No, I don't think he found it. I don't know.
You did.
I don't know what happened, but I know that he didn't want me to marry him because he didn't like his mother. She was sort of a highfalutin person.
So what was his name?
James Hatcher, and he has
He was
since
from
died.
Scriven, wasn't he?
He died several years ago.
But he stayed in Scriven his whole life.
No, he moved to Savannah.
Oh, he did?
He worked in Savannah, and that's where he died.
Okay.
But after,
I want to hear the end of this.
Okay.
well,
But,
I remember
but you broke it off or something because Papa didn't like.
I don't remember that.
You told me that story a long time ago. That you hid the ring that you really loved.
I remember that.
You really loved, and that because your dad didn't approve and you wanted him to approve, you decided to break it off, and that's the last person that you really truly loved. But you sacrificed your feelings for your dad. That's not how you said it, but in a
I don't.
nutshell.
Yeah, I don't
Because he wasn't
remember.
happy with you and wasn't happy with that choice.
But there was another boy that I really liked a lot, J.E. Taylor,
I don't remember
and
that.
he
What about him?
he went overseas, and he came back, and I had moved to Savannah, and he came to see me in Savannah. I've got pictures of us out in Forsyth Park in his uniform.
Because the kids always tell me you would make the best mom, and you should have been.
Yeah, I
a mom.
actually have a question for you. And do you ever regret, not having a husband?
Not marrying.
Yeah. Would you have liked to been married?
Yes, I would have. Would like to have been married and had a family.
Because you're a beautiful lady, and I'm so
Oh,
surprised.
thank you,
that-
sweetie. Thank you, sweetie.
And you're a great parental figure.
Yeah, and I know that you regret not having kids because you would be a very great mother.
Well, I don't know
I think so.
whether I would have or
Same with
not.
kids.
It's like we were talking earlier, it's a responsibility and it's patience. You really have to have patience,
Yes, you're right about that.
and I may not have had that.
It's tough.
Who knows?
You've always had it, from what I remember.
Our next question is, wasn't your mom like adopted? Wasn't
No, she was an only
her-
child.
by your dad?
Yeah, she always told me the story that they got married, but she later found adoption papers that he had adopted her,
So she couldn't get away.
so he would have her no matter what. That's what she told me. That she found some adoption papers that because she was only, 13 when they married?
Oh no,
14?
she was 15. She
Okay,
was
15.
she was
Wow.
she was
It's a world of difference.
before 16. She was almost 16.
But he had adopted her from, because she didn't have a mother or father that was living. She would just go with her grandmom Adeline, or what was
Adeline.
and other cousins, and that he had somehow adopted
Well,
her,
I
but
gue- I
was
guess,
marrying her. At least that's the story she told me.
Well, I vaguely remember something about that, but because of her age,
Right.
that he
She was
had to,
underage.
it was legal. I mean, he had to, I don't know.
Can't do it these days.
And she used to say that she would be out making mud pies in the field, and he'd be in there trying to teach her to cook, and she wanted to go play and make mud pies when she was little. And she told me that she used to iron her hair with an iron. Like we have flat irons today, but she would lay it out and iron her
Oh
hair
my god.
on it, like an ironing board, like iron it.
Oh my god.
It was like wow, real long hair.
And my last question of the day is, now it is 2007. What is one thing today that you would want to do? Not necessarily not the obvious thing like visit with my grandchildren, because that's what Papa Doc and Nanny said.
There's
But
no grandchild.
what is one thing that you would love to do before,
Before I die.
yeah,
Oh, I don't know.
jump out of an airplane, hang gliding.
That'd be so cool.
No, dance on Broadway.
Because you love Broadway and theater.
that can be arranged. I have some phone calls.
Oh, join the Rockettes.
And she loved the
There are some Rockettes down here for
in Myrtle Beach.
for elderly.
Oh,
There's not.
that's the thing they do for us. They
Senior citizens.
Trust me, they're not. No.
No, if I were younger, if I had energy, I would like to travel.
And we
Travel.
should do this 5'2".
How about
You
you
gotta
do
do
something
that.
for the camera real
5'2".
quick?
Pardon?
Do a dance for the camera real quick in your chair.
Remember you used to always do that.
5'2".
5'2", eyes of blue.
Oh, let me get
da,
it.
da, 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 da. Has anybody seen my gal?
Do that again for your camera. For the camera.
5'2", eyes of blue. Da, 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 da. Has anybody seen my gal?
And then you gotta sing one more.
And
That's-
if you run into 5'2", covered with fur.
I don't know the name.
I can't
You
remember.
gotta sing this one too, because you sang it to me all the time as a child. Dun 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 dun.
I can't sing that
Whatever
one.
that one is. Wells Fargo Wagon.
Well, Coming down
Sing it
another.
all the time to me as a child.
I actually have one more thing to say.
Okay.
This is going to be for each of the grandchildren.
She doesn't
Tiffany,
have
Lynn.
grandchildren.
I mean,
Grandnieces.
I consider you a grandma.
So do I.
But if you could say something to me, Lindsay, Tiffany, and Taylor, what would you say?
Well, she
starting
has a lot
with
more.
the oldest, which is Taylor.
But she has
Taylor.
a lot of grandchildren.
I know, but this is just for
Okay.
Well,
this is Taylor.
why couldn't I just
Say it to
all
everybody.
say it to all of you?
Because
You can say that too, but I think that would be more special
Yeah, me
for when
too.
we look back on this.
Hmm.
Say
For
20
each
years
person.
for each kid.
Mhm.
Say something. So first is to Taylor.
Well, to Taylor, I pray that your heart and your soul and your mind will not be marred by the separation of your family. And I just pray that you'll be always close to the Lord.
And now for me.
And the same to you. I love you very much, love all of you. And I just want the best for you and want you to always have good morals and a good character, integrity, and be close to the Lord, and always do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I don't know, I just want everything for you.
And now for Lindsay.
And Lindsay, I would want the same for you. I love you very much, and I want you to grow up to be a happy person and always love the Lord and try to obey and trust, put your trust in Him and have a strong faith, and just be a happy person and always be willing to help others and lend a helping hand when needed, and
That doesn't
just
sound
be
like
a-
Lindsay right now.
a good person.
And now lastly, or finally, to Tiffany.
And Tiffany, as I said, I hope that your heart and your mind will have no scars from the separation of your family, that you will grow up to be a true Christian girl, and that you will always have a good outlook on life, and that you always be ladylike for all of you.
Okay.
I think it's so
You,
important.
William, not you, ladylike.
I think it's so important that you have good manners and a good character, of course, and your I can't think of the word I want to use.
Demeanor?
Your not demeanor, but your appearance, your
Don't forget it.
and where are we at? Still at Tiffany?
I wanted
Yeah.
to ask a question. What is the one thing, that looking back, because you've lived a long time, that you're the most surprised about innovation? I mean, not like an airplane or a car, but what is the one thing that, considering where you started, what we have today, that's the most impressive to you
Most impressive?
of the technology and the things that we have today?
I guess the computer.
That you still don't have one,
Huh?
and that you still don't have one that you need, so
No,
you can keep in
yeah.
contact with your beloved
I don't have
nieces
time.
and nephews.
I don't, not that I have that much of a social life anymore, but I'm always busy, and I don't know how I would have time to sit at a computer.
We write emails a lot of times instead of letters. It's a really quick way to keep
Well, I
in
don't
touch.
write
You
letters
send
very much
pictures.
anymore, but I like to cut out these inspirational things that like I sent you and Larry, and I sent one to Susan too. I like to pass those things on that I think that are real good to keep fresh in your mind the good things in life and not be so worldly.
Well, I hate to rush you off, but we have like 1 minute left on the tape. So thank you for being with us, and we all love you, from me, Lindsay, Tiffany, Taylor, Mom, Dad, Nana Gaga, Susan, and Don. We all love you very dearly, and we look back at this in 20 years and say what a great person you really were.
Well, thank you so much, and I love all of you just that much, just so much, and I just hope you'll have a good life.
You just sing, au revoir, da do 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 do, da da
La da,
What is that
da 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 da.
Goodbye.
Okay, here.
Night.
Guys, there's a strange little bird that's popping up to say coo, 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 coo.
From the Sound
Cute,
of Music, can't
cute.
we?
Regretfully they tell us, but slowly they compel us to say goodbye to
To you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Au revoir.
Good night, around. It's not da 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 da.
My farewell.
Well, let me say this. This is one I used to sing. Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est belle. French.
French.
Dites-moi pourquoi. That's all I remember.
Sounds like a bird.
And happy talk. Talk about things you like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true?
Used to sing
And you didn't have a dream, remember?
Right, that's right.
the blue.
Okay, well, the camera is like out of tape, so